Good afternoon, all you awesome people out there. My name is Scott Schertzen alongside Mr. Obi Spencer and Mr. JD Walker, and I'm going to try and breeze through this as fast as possible. Welcome to the Sports Center on Zingo TV, channel 249, 250 in Spanglish Sports World. Make sure to rate and leave a comment when you download the Zingo TV app on the iOS and Android stores. When you download, make sure to leave a comment. You know it already. Screw it. I'm done. Anyway, yeah.
Footwear prohibited, may cause anal leakage.
Exactly, yes. You know.
Hey, whoa, hey.
So, yes. A, O, A, I, E, O, U, sometimes Y, hey. So, all right. So, anyway, yes, Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV 6, Roku, and Roku 6, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward. There, I finally got it. Anyway, we're moving on at this point. Breaking down a bunch of stuff today. We're going to be talking about Apple buying out MLS's exclusive viewing rights, talking about what that's going to do. Probably a little NBA, probably a little NHL, and it's a little overdue. But we're actually going to basically be firing off a little bit of Jeopardy. See how that plays out, see what that ends up doing, and see basically how the gentleman can do. I guarantee I will not get a single question wrong because I'm not participating. But I figure let's start this off right out of the chute. Apple TV has just dropped $2.5 billion on a 10-year deal to have the rights to broadcast MLS exclusively, Major League Soccer. There are opinions on both sides of this fence. Some are in favor of it, some are against it, and people like me that are unsure right now and want to play the waiting game to see if this is something that does make sense and where this is going to go. JD, I figure let's start with you on this one. I know you had a couple of points there, so go for it, sir. Sorry.
Right. First, let's go down for the basics of this deal. It starts next season and is running for 10 years, $2.5 billion over the course of the deal, so $250 million per year. After the league takes their cut off the top, you'd think probably comes out to around $8 or $9 million per team per season from broadcast rights. Now, what's notable in this is that it is an exclusive deal that supersedes all other local market rights. So, like, for example, in Philly, the Philadelphia Union have a local broadcast deal with PHL 17. You know, that they get pretty good ratings on. I read that their ratings doubled when they moved from NBC Sports Philly over to PHL 17 a few years ago. I'm not sure what the terms are, what the financial terms are of that deal. I wasn't able to find that, but I do know that the league has been coordinating with the local markets, with the individual teams, saying for several years, do not extend your deals past 2022 because they wanted it to be open territory, so it could all go in one piece and not piecemeal by local market, because they don't want to fall into the same trap that you see with Major League Baseball and the NBA and the NHL, where you have teams that are stuck in very long-term contracts that made sense 5 or 10 years ago, but as the television landscape has shifted in cable and streaming since then, that now is a nightmare for many of these teams. It was a big reason behind the baseball lockout. So what MLS did here, planning for the future, was by bundling it all together. This Apple TV deal has no blackouts. You can watch any game anywhere and in any market. So that's been one of the biggest issues with streaming in other sports is local market or out of market blackouts. With this, and you have consistency. No more checking the calendar each week to find out which time, date, channel your team is playing on. Games will be Wednesday nights and Saturdays. Either Wednesday or Saturday TV window, and they will all be in the same place, Apple TV Plus. Thoughts, for or against the streaming service itself aside, you at least know where to go. And that is something that has been an issue with MLS and sometimes a source of confusion. Now, you know where your team is going to be playing, when and how you can watch them. Whether or not a person is able to is a different story. they're willing to pay whatever the price point per month will be for this plan. The pricing itself hasn't been disclosed, but when that land becomes available, you get everything, and this is what it is. And also, Commissioner Don Garber has said that they are still trying to look for linear national TV deals as well, with whether it be ESPN, Fox Sports, whoever. So that is still on the table and will be in addition to this.
Obi, do you have any thoughts on that?
To me, the whole thing about any sport is it is a great driver to your service, whatever your service is that you are trying to broadcast to, whether it's terrestrial, old-fashioned terrestrial TV, whether it's basic cable, premium cable. Sports does bring eyes to that service. People pay for it. I mean, people pay for Red Zone, which isn't even a game, right? So those things work out well. What can be difficult for a sport is if ABC/ESPN, Fox, they don't have a piece of it, are they going to cover it? Are they going to consider it news? That's always the downside. Now, it sounds like JD's reporting here, and I know he did plenty of research. It sounds like those possibilities will still be there. And I think it behooves Apple TV to make sure that one of the big sports talk show networks gets at least a little play, enough to want to talk it up. We've seen it with hockey, the ebbs and flows of when hockey's on ABC and when it's not, and how much it's talked about. So, but, I think it is a win-win for everybody. It's a lot of money to MLS. So even if they can't market on those major networks, there will be marketing money they can use. Teams will have money in their pockets. The players will get paid a little more. Maybe you get one or two more old guys to come here as opposed to another higher-end country to get a few bucks, get more eyes on, and keep it growing. And for Apple TV, in theory, it's going to drive people to watch it. It's going to drive people to Apple TV. We know it's a growing sport. It's one of the things we've been talking about on all the shows that we do for 3 years now. Soccer's growing, soccer's growing, soccer's growing. Scott, you cover soccer. So I think it's Apple TV is a wise move by them. I don't know what their finances look like at Apple anymore, but for about a decade, there was all this talk about all this extra cash Apple had lying around. And it does seem, since Apple TV's come about, they've started using that bucket of cash, and this just seems like another wise investment with it.
Now, Apple's numbers, the GDP of developed mid-sized countries. That's where Apple's financials are.
And in this case here, the GDP of Apple, actually, if it became a country, is actually higher than England, and that says a lot right there. This is a company that made $368 billion last year. And as a result, $2.5 billion, frankly, doesn't really count that as much as money. Now, we were talking to somebody on Sunday. I don't want to release the name, but his belief is that Apple is actually using this as a marketing ploy to get something bigger. Where you drop $2.5 billion, okay, to them, it's not that bad, but you can showcase your ability to broadcast, to generate ratings and generate interest in the sport, and then start going after bigger fish. International soccer, going to stick in there, but also NBA, NFL. There's a guy that basically
it's the same strategy that Amazon is using with Thursday Night Football,
but on a grander scale.
Yeah, Obi.
Or if it takes off. And it doesn't need to be on YouTube TV anymore. What about the Live? Like, that is just, if that takes off and you can start broadcasting that's another one that one of these streaming networks might drop on.
And my question on this case here and the issues that I have is that for a lot of people that are used to watching it locally, like, you mentioned the network down in Philadelphia, forcing it behind a paywall is something that's going to piss off a lot of fans because they like the fact that they have it now. Now, in the New York City area, when it comes to NYCFC, that team has been done rotten, frankly, by Yes in general. If the Yankees are playing or the Nets are playing, it gets moved exclusively to the Yes app, which is in fact blacked out in some parts of New York and even New Jersey. People that live 3 blocks away were actually blacked out and unable to actually use the app to watch their team that they could literally hear in the stands.
Yeah, all this now goes away with Apple TV.
But at a financial cost, because now people, have to pay for another streaming service, and I wonder sometimes how how much people really want to do that. Additionally, I think this is also part of the greater plan to promote these shows like the Ted Lassos, Hello Tomorrow when that comes out, and Severance, because you get the MLS people who come in, and then as Brandon, who has Apple Plus and has watched baseball on there, they constantly, and I mean constantly, promote their TV shows on Apple TV while actually the game itself is going on. Now,
how's that any different from how every other network promotes their shows during
here's the only difference, though.
The most eyeballs are
Soccer doesn't really have commercial breaks. Baseball, football, hockey, basketball, they have commercial breaks. They have TV timeouts. Soccer has ads on the side, sure, but until halftime, there's no breakaway.
But what I haven't seen on soccer, but I have seen on basketball, and it's coming to soccer, is the Fox Yellow line, but ads. So if you watch
it's going to look like CNN or a news network with all the tickers.
But not even just literally, if you watch basketball on the field, on the court, sometimes you're like, wait, how? I've been to that stadium. There's no ad right there on the floor. But there is now, because they superimpose the ad, and they're going to start doing that in soccer, whether it's Apple TV or not.
They already do it in soccer.
They already do it in soccer.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right. which is weird because you're at the game, and then you're used to seeing the field, and then if I watch the replay later on, I'm like, I don't remember a soccer ball going through the Audi circles. It's kind of funny.
All right. So there you are. Okay.
But but in this case here,
soccer was the one that came up with it for all of the reasons that Scott said. That's why they came up with that technology in soccer.
What they would end up doing essentially is, I'm going to use this as an example here, is they have the game going on there, and then down at the bottom, they've got the rolling ads going on. Even with like with Yes Network and whatever, you have the game on one side, and then where we are physically now is you have an ad for Smeared Off. You have something that's thin that can fit into that little tiny section.
Racing and golf do the same thing. That's the way of the future now.
Yeah, I know, for better or for worse, it is. And that's where I think some people are going to have, not be crazy about the fact that they have to pay for another streaming service. You guys and I remember the old days when streaming services became a thing and people were thinking, cool, I can save money.
Okay, so when people started thinking, cool, I can save money, I laughed at them then because I'm not an idiot when something works. I remember when there was HBO, and then next thing you know, there was Showtime, and then there was Cinemax, and then there was
the movie channel. Yeah.
So I'm not surprised it has gone this way. And my cable company, they offer all the services like on your cable box, so you still keep your cable TV because they were smart to figure out. I think brilliant to do that and integrate the searching into their functionality. But that being said, going to quit. I think they're comfortable now. So I think the old head, it's going to save me money. They're uncomfortable. But I think that generation is already gone. New generations, what streaming service do I want? What hats do I want? The on again, off again. Oh, Disney Plus is now showing Kenobi. I'm on again. Kenobi's over. I'm not into Marvel. Off again. Something like MLS is going to extend the amount of time you have to stay in. That's what the sports season offers. 3-6 more extra months where you have to be vested in because it's every week. So I think that's a huge plus, and then that gets eyes on the other shows that become popular.
And in this case, like I said, if this goes well, then they're going to start making the run at the NFL, at Major League Baseball on a greater scale. Sports writer John Lupo, I'll give him a shout out in this case here. I think he's right. This is why I'm saying it. But he suspects that in 5 years' time, maybe 10, everything with the exception of high-level stuff such as the NBA Finals, Super Bowl, World Series, all of it will be exclusive to whatever streaming service it happens to be. The
Olympics brought to you by Peacock and only Peacock.
It's already on Peacock. They put the good, the stronger stuff on Peacock to force you to pay, and then they give you the crap stuff. On the stuff that they can charge commercials for. But this is, like I said, this is how the future is going to run with this. And I don't blame people for being pissed off about the fact that this is happening because it's something else that maybe they can't afford.
And also, streaming was sports was kind of like the last frontier with regards to streaming services. Where most other television, aside from specific live events, Super Bowl, sports, the Oscars, things of that nature, live, time-sensitive programming is the only thing that draws to linear television. Local news, which you can get with an antenna, if you which do still exist. They're just shaped differently than the old rabbit ears that we grew up with. But because I use that, I do not have an active cable subscription in my own house, but I use an antenna and the internet to watch.
Now,
what I need to watch. So that's kind of the last thing. Was people thinking, oh, I need to keep a cable service so I have the ability to watch whatever team I like. So this now is another step towards removing that, for better or for worse. And while there are going to be the short-term disruption, it is a better long-term strategy for the league. And MLS is, as a startup by comparison to the other big four, has always been one to embrace that and be a bit more agile in that regard. So
you said something in there that really struck a chord with me, which was I can watch my team. And as you know, being a Met fan like myself and moving down to Philadelphia, trying to watch your team, you realize how regional baseball is.
Yes.
And when you put this on here, and now we feel like we're in a time of extra mobility for people. They can keep their job, move 4, 5, 6 states away. But if you are a Philadelphia Union and New York FC, New York Red Bulls fan, or Portland fan, and you switch sides of the country, now you can still watch your team every one of their games. So not instantly, but you were going to have to pay for that anyway. And now you're like, fine, I would have had to pay for it anyway, but now I can remain an active fan of my team.
I watch the New Jersey Devils on ESPN Plus, and I'm able to do that since I am no longer in the local market. That would be, of course, if the New Jersey Devils had a product worth watching these days.
Fair. Now, the thing is, in this case also, and this has been a lot of concerns that the fans have, is you develop a loyalty specifically to the broadcasters you're used to. So, Obi, you mentioned the Mets. The Mets are so much less without Gary, Keith, and Ron. If the Mets were to go to Apple TV, you're probably not going to get Gary, Keith, and Ron. You're just going to get whatever broadcasters go from point A to B to C to D, just like you do with the NFL right now on Sundays, where you just have this tandem that just travels from location A to basically across and you
But if you're broadcasting every game, is that how it's going to be? Or are you going to have your Mets broadcasters, your Yankees broadcast, because you're now at least have the number. Might as well double it up and give two streams. I don't know how they're going to do it, but that's number one. Number two, people get addicted to their people, but only in sports that have them. Like as a basketball fan, yeah, I like the home team that they got on Comcast, but half the Sixers games are not on Comcast, and I like to hear Van Gundy call the game just as much. So as somebody who watches the sport a lot, that goes back and forth between local to national on a team that gets a lot of national coverage, it's not that disruptive once 2 years in. It is what it is.
In talking to the fans, though, they are straight up nervous about this. And I addressed it to somebody the other day because they don't know what's going on with all of this either. So it's interesting because the fans, like I said, they build a bond and a connection to the broadcasters themselves. So you might lose a little bit of your relationship with the team itself because you lost a connection to the broadcasters. The reason I got into the Yankees was the broadcasting team. So if, you have somebody, I'm not sure who it is down in Philadelphia, but if you have, that tandem that covers the Union and they're not doing it anymore, the fans might be a little pissed. Will they stop watching? No. But will they be as impassioned? Maybe not as much.
It could go both ways because there are some teams and some fan bases that do have a connection with certain broadcasters. As Mets fans, we're used to Gary, Keith, and Ron, who are some of the best in the country. But you also can hear Ron Darling on TBS games. sometimes.
Playoffs, yeah.
Gary Cohen's a professional. You could hear him on Seton Hall basketball as well. They all work multiple jobs. It's the nature of the industry. Different jobs, different times of year, different teams. But also at the same time, if the product on the field is not good, they're not going to watch. It's why I've been fascinated by all of the money that has exchanged hands and will exchange in the future of the bidding wars between networks for certain high-level broadcasters.
That recently went to a cable network from
NFL game of the week, no matter who the broadcasters are. So the preoccupation with that is fascinating to me. If the game is good, people will watch. If the game is not good, is a broadcaster really going to help that?
But see, here's the problem with the broadcasters we're talking about. They're already one of the, he's already one of the most divisive ones in the NFL and broadcasting in general, just because of the fact that he's flat. It's almost like and I'm not even saying the guy's name in this case, but it's almost like he's there just because he has to be, but lacks the passion of saying, I want to be there.
Yeah.
And that dude got $90 million across 5 years, which is a very, very gutsy move for this sports network that is owned by a mouse. That's Joe Buck I'm talking about. You obviously you knew who I was talking about anyway. But in this case, they dropped $90 million or $100 million on Joe Buck for 5 years. But the one guarantee every time Joe Buck broadcast an NFL game or a World Series game, Twitter, he was trending, and usually in the negative.
Yeah, it's the same reason why the four-letter network holds on to a more controversial talking head because he's trending. Something that he's always got something to say about something. Takes are very volatile either way.
So to both of those guys, Buck and I'm going to go with who you're guessing is Stephen A. Smith. I've actually stopped watching First Take, by the way. I just have lost interest in it. But but that being said, people don't like Joe Buck, but they go to watch the game anyway. And that's JD's point. Maybe people don't like Joe Buck, but Joe Buck doesn't seem to stop people from watching.
I watch the Spanish ones. I can't understand it, but goddamn, does that guy have more energy?
Okay.
I can't understand Spanish for crap.
I think that undercuts your argument, by the way, of people may not watch it because it's not their broadcaster. If you're literally watching in Spanish, which, by the way, I've done as well during the World Cup.
Joe Buck is not my broadcaster. He's the broadcaster that's doing the game, which reinforces my point.
Because your broadcasters change over the years. Like your team of broadcasters. Look, I have been out of New York for so long that when you say who are the Mets broadcasters, it's Tim McCarver and Ralph Kiner. Okay, that's how long I've been outside of New York.
Fran Healy, I think at one point, Gary Thorne for a while.
Yeah, so
it was Howie Rose and Fran.
Howie Rose, yes.
So, point being, those teams change, and you do have a point where I used to listen to the game on the radio and watch it on TV.
Bob Murphy.
For a period of time, but in the end, now I watch half the sports I watch without any volume because it is the product for most sports. And the volume goes on, and I'm like, when the refs are conferring, I'm like, wait, what did happen? I didn't catch that. Then they tell me what happens, and then not every game, and not particular announcers though. Sometimes I'm watching with volume, and sometimes my wife is talking. So volume has to be off.
Yeah, but you could also put the game on. You could also put the game on mute and listen to people online talking about it if you so choose.
Yes, I highly suggest you do that.
If only there was some place you could do that with that's called on sports. Perhaps there's something on Twitch. I've looked that up. Anyway. But I don't know. I'm curious to see what's going to happen. It's probably too early to say for sure, but I will say this: like them or hate them, Apple knows how to make money, and they're not doing this randomly. They're not doing this, out of the goodness of their heart. They're doing this to raise that stock price. So, is MLS their end game? Probably not.
Yeah.
Can you trust that they're going to do the right thing by MLS? Probably across the board, big picture. You know what? Big picture, yes. Little person, maybe not so much. So
yeah, there will be some short-term disruption, and there was a great article I read by.
We apologize for any inconvenience.
There was a great article I read by it was Paul Danzer with the Portland Tribune. He had some quotes from the University of Oregon sports business professor Yov Dubinsky, and he said that while this is good, it also creates a risk of positioning yourself as a niche product, in the case of the MLS, but they're not going to be the lead on Sports Center anyway. It's because certain networks prefer, they will go where the bread and butter is and where the majority of their rights dollars are, which is the big four. So
one last thing to close this out on that, because it's almost 4:30 already. But JD, you and I were talking yesterday about the USFL and the fact, or 2 days ago, sorry, and the fact that ESPN on their website has nothing whatsoever on the USFL, no section, no anything, because it's a Fox product.
Right. As Obi said before, if ESPN doesn't have, if ESPN ABC doesn't have your rights, you don't exist.
Yep.
Hockey didn't exist for 15 years.
Yeah. And even now it barely does in their eyes. But so, all right. Any final thoughts, gentlemen? Kind of want to move on to Jeopardy and see how you gentlemen do. So
just give it a shot.
All right, cool. So, by the way, this is, of course, the Sports Den. You can find us on Spanglish World Network, Zingo TV, channel 249 and 250. If you want to just drop a message there, please be my guest. Okay, so moving on to the other guy right now. Like I said, I have not in any way, shape, matter, or form seen what these Jeopardy questions are going to be. So I got to admit, I'm kind of curious myself. So can you see? Can everybody see me? Can everybody hear me? So, all right, here's what I'm thinking. We're going to do this probably this way here. I'm going to have to get rid of that, though, so you can see everything. There is our breakdown that we have. Let me move you out of the way. I should have done that in the first place. There you go. So we have basically 5 categories down here. We have World Series winners, baseball terminology, major league teams, major league players, and of course, miscellaneous. I have zero idea what any of these questions are going to be. The way I'm figuring we probably do this is we just go on a point system as well. No positives or negatives. Just if you get it right, you get the points. If you don't, then the other person can take a shot at it and just rotate back and forth. Any complaints?
Whatever. Works for me.
Cool. All right. Obi, since basically this website was your idea, I'm going to let you pick first.
All right. Let's go major league teams for 500.
All right. Going right for the throat with this. So, a flag retrieves Hack 191 sits atop the Major League Stadium representing Hack Wilson's 191 RBIs in the season, a record he set as a member of this club in 1930.
Is it the Chicago Cubs?
Actually, you know what? I won't be able to actually tell. I have to just do it this way, so you can't steal. Sorry. It is, in fact, the Cubs. So sorry. There we go. Well done, sir.
All right.
So we're not buzzing in. It's just whoever.
Yeah, I think there's no real way to buzz in on this website, so
yeah.
Come on, dang it, Bobby. So there we go. All right, JD, how about you?
I'll go with World Series winners for 500.
We're going right for the tie.
Yep.
Featuring Cy Young and before changing their name to the Red Sox, this team won the first World Series.
Okay. I believe it was the Boston Bean Eaters, I think they were called.
That's the one I'm trying to go with. They were also the Robins, I think, at one point, too. The Americans. Okay. All right.
It was the Brooklyn Robins before they were.
Was it the Brooklyn? Okay. Obi, 2 of the 500s are gone.
Let's try miscellaneous for 500, please.
Again, the problem with some of these is the fact that sometimes it's like, this is the player I'm currently thinking about. It's like, great. That's how I know. In 1963, this Mets outfielder celebrated his 100th home run by backpedaling around the bases.
Let's say some. I don't know the whole team, but let's go with who is Al Kaline?
I almost want to go
Can
with.
I throw a guess out?
Sure.
I'm going to go with Marv Thornberry.
I think Duke Snyder was with that team at that point, or was it Pee Wee Reese? Jimmy Purcell.
Pearsall. Okay.
All right. I have actually heard that story before, too. But all right. JD.
Yeah, there's a great book by Kate. There was a great book about the 62 and 63 Mets called "Can Anybody Here Play This Game?" that had that story.
I remember hearing it, but there's got to be video on YouTube, I would hope.
Yeah, I don't know if video exists from that era, but
Especially
Yeah,
the Mets.
yeah, Mazeroski's hit.
That's the kind of video that gets. We'll use that tape again.
Yeah. See, Mazeroski was in the World Series, so that's why there was at least somebody. They at least had a network feed of it.
Yeah, back in the day, they used to race over the stuff without the foresight. Too bad. JD?
I'll go with Major League Teams for 400.
Major League Teams for 400. Denny McClain is Major League Baseball's last 30-game winner after he went 31-6 playing for this team in 1968.
Well, the Detroit Tigers.
Nicely done. All right. Now we're
where there won't be any 20-win years anymore, let alone 30.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what, one of the hardest records to probably ever break now would be Cy Young's.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, impossible.
Yeah, Walter Johnson too, but Obi?
Baseball terminology for 500, please, Scott.
He is loving the 500s.
Get him out of the way.
Players who accrued 10 years of Major League service time and spent the past 5 years consecutively with the same team are awarded these rights.
No trade.
10-5 rights. Yeah. JD, are you cool with that?
Yeah, all out.
All right. I mean, yeah, it is a 10-5 rule, but that's, the fact that they have to approve any trade. How's he doing that? Find you.
I wanted to say 10-5, but I'm like, that's not what they're in the question. He must mean no trade.
It seemed too easy to have the answer in the question itself.
Right, exactly. If there had been 100, I literally, if that was the 100, he would go with 10-5, but he wants to know what the 10-5 is. All right. Thank you, JD, for your leniency there.
Yes, respect.
My first guess was pension, so I was wrong.
What would you like, sir?
I'll go with Major League players for 500.
This Hall of Famer played in all 6 of the Baltimore Orioles World Series appearances. I think I actually know who this one might be.
Who is Jim Palmer?
That's the one I was thinking about, yeah, because he pitched with that team for a long time. Nice.
Yeah, well played.
Yes. All right, Obi?
Well, let's go with World Series winners for 4.
From 1949 through 1958, they were the only team outside of New York City to win the World Series.
Who are the St. Louis Cardinals?
The Braves. Okay.
I knew that one.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think in this case here, because actually there's no chance to really steal. I'm sorry, man. But you can take the lead with this one, though. So.
Mm-hmm.
And how would you like to do that?
I was so positive, too.
I'll go with World Series winners 300.
Down to the 3s for the first time. After losing the 1960 World Series against this team, Mickey Mantle later admitted that the walk-off Game 7 was the only ever time in his life that he had ever cried.
We were literally just talking about this. It was Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, we just talked about this like 2 minutes beforehand. Actually, no, we were talking about during. Actually, when it had the backwards home run, the running backwards on the base path. All right, JD now with the lead. Obi,
I'll try baseball terminology for 400.
Very good. An idiom credited to the Houston Mudcats player Ollie Pickering, a bloop that falls in between the outfielders and an infielder for a hit is also called this.
Not a can of corn, because that's when you catch. What other idiom could it be? I'm feeling very stupid right now. It's not a can of corn because that's when you catch, but
I know a phrase that they use for this. I don't know if it's the phrase, though.
it's probably the phrase you're thinking of, but I'm going to go with the incorrect answer of what is a can of corn.
JD, you want to throw a guess out there just for funsies?
Bloop single is the only one that I know, but if that's the answer, then
I was going to say no man's land.
5 was before, so who knows?
Texas Leaguer, yes.
Yes.
I've never heard that term.
Houston, Mud Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mets should be JD's wheelhouse, or Brandon too. But Brandon is currently up in Maine right now, probably somewhere around Bangor.
I love how I get no credit as a Met fan. It is just horrific and hurtful from all our audience members and Scott.
That's okay. Hey, listen. Actually, I said Gary, Keith, and Ron, so I got some points there. All right, so JD, you have a chance to take a very commanding lead.
I'll go with Major League Players 400.
All right. Larry Durker is the most recent 17-year-old to make his debut when he appeared in 1964. This Mariner is the most recent 18-year-old.
Who's Ken Griffey Jr.?
Could be.
Or A-Rod.
Okay.
I thought it was A-Rod.
Yeah, I realized after I said it, wait, A-Rod was after that.
Just like a couple years after, yeah. All right, Obi, back to you.
Miscellaneous for 400.
All right. After a grand jury returned its indictments, a local newspaper wrote a regretful tribute headline, "Say it ain't so, Joe," referring to this player.
Who is Shoeless Joe Jackson?
Very good, sir.
These questions don't necessarily match their number level, but
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah.
There probably is no order to that.
So basically, yeah, the World Series for 100 will be, this is the team that won 78, won 17 times out of, anyway, JD.
We'll go World Series winners 100. Let's test that theory.
All right. Despite Don Drysdale and Sandy Koufax losing game 1 and 2 respectively, this team came back and won the 65 World Series.
We're the LA Dodgers.
Yeah.
I believe that's the correct answer.
Yeah, so that one does hold true. It is a proper 100 question. And not what this was, the 756th pitch thrown by Randy Johnson.
That would be a fastball that hit a bird.
God, yeah, that's right.
I had the exact same thought when you said that.
Actually, I didn't. I had the one base. I don't know if you ever saw it, but there's a video when Mark McGwire was still playing with Oakland that he threw a fastball and McGwire got a hold of it. So you got a 98, 99 mile an hour fastball, and McGwire, when he was already much bigger than he was as a rookie, and my God, that ball just went. Anyway, JD, back to you.
Let's close out World Series winner 200.
Wait, JD just have. Whoa. Oh, okay. It's not that important.
What? No. Crap.
No, Obi's right. It should have been.
All right. Let me ask you this. Since I screwed up again, and you want to do 2?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
All right. I am sorry about that. That was 100% on my fault. I am a cotton-headed nitty muggins. So, all right. So, JD, the Houston Astros were defeated by this team in the 2019 World Series, in which every home team lost every game.
Who are the Washington Nationals?
I believe you're correct. So, all right, Obi, I believe you have 2 now. Am I correct here?
You are correct. Because JD was nice enough to take 100 on purpose, I will take the baseball terminology for 100 first.
All right. So, baseball terminology for 100. That would bring it to a tie. A strikeout can be abbreviated with a K or these letters.
Wait, there are other letters besides a K? S-O.
Yep. I know. It threw me off for a second there, too. So, okay, back to a tie again.
And then back to my regularly scheduled 300.
All right, so you want baseball terminology 300?
Yes,
all right. I feel really bad about what happened right there, though.
It's no big deal at all.
On steal or pickoff attempts by a catcher, this term represents the time elapsed from the moment the pitch hits the catcher's mitt to the moment the intended fielder is projected to receive his throw.
Ooh.
Steal or pickoff.
I think I know what it is.
Free space.
I thought it was like release point. Or pop time.
Pop time.
I didn't know
I was
that.
going to say throw down a barrel or
Yeah. All right. So for real now, JD, it's yours.
we'll go with Major League Teams 300.
All right. From 1966 to 1980, they were the last of the original 16 Major League teams to have never won a World Series.
Or the Phillies.
Yep. Because they won in 1980. Tug McGraw. Yeah. All right, Obi.
Major League players for 300.
There we go. Making his debut in 1989, this Venezuelan was the last active player to have played in the 1980s when he retired in 2012.
Oh, damn me. Ah. Tired with the Mets, isn't he? Oh, he was 50. Come on. And here's where I lose it. I don't know. I know, but I don't know.
I did.
I know the player you're thinking of, but it's not the answer.
Oh, okay.
He shared. If it's what I'm thinking of, he shares an initial with Obi, your opponent. I believe it's Julio Franco, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's from Mexico, not Venezuela.
Oh, Omar Vizquel. Oh shit!
I was thinking Roberto Alomar, but I'm like, no, that's not.
Yeah, I was definitely going with Julio Franco.
Omar Vizquel went all the way to 2012. Wow.
Yeah, he played a long time. But he was, but I mixed him up with the other Hall of Fame, with the other, possible Hall of Fame shortstop that had his last washed up years with the Mets, Roberto Alomar.
Well, listen, that 2002 team should have been worlds better than they were. Anyway, JD?
I'll go with baseball terminology 200.
All right, wrapping that one out. When two teams agree to decide upon a final player involved in a trade at a later date, they are said to be including a
player to be named later.
Correct.
All right. There's actually a few teams, I think it was back in the 70s, where there was a trade where the player to be named later was the same player
the
original team. And then they made a rule that said you can't do that.
Joe Youngblood might have been one of them, I think. No. He's the guy that I think hit a home run in for two different teams in the same day.
Could be.
Yeah. Obi?
Miscellaneous for 300.
Miscellaneous. Oh, jeez. In 1990, this comedy sports film.
It's not a 300 question.
All girls baseball. Yeah. Where's that jersey that I have of that?
Mm-hmm.
Obi, make it official.
I don't want to because it's not a field of dreams and there is no crying in baseball. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. A league. What is a league of their own?
Okay. I'm starting to wonder for a second there.
It was like, I'm like, it's not there. And I'm seeing the movie poster. I'm seeing scenes from the movie.
My wife literally wore that shirt yesterday. JD?
Go miscellaneous for 200.
All right. 6 questions left. Who's on first is a comedy duo made famous by this duo. Comedy routine.
Or Abbott and Costello.
Correct. I just gave you the points outright. So, all right.
Outright. 5 left. We'll take players for 200.
Players for 2. A 5-tool player, this Hall of Famer last appeared in the 1973 World Series as a New York Met.
That Willie Mays?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. JD up by 200 with 4 left.
Watched the Hall of Famers ending their careers with the Mets.
Hey, this summer in the World Series.
Yeah.
Duke Snyder did. Gil Hodges did.
Teams for 200.
All right. If he gets this ends it too. Adrian Beltre won 5 gold gloves during his career, 2 with the Mariners and 3 with this team.
Who are the Dodgers?
No, not done yet. Not
Still
done
breathing.
yet.
Still breathing. We're going to go with miscellaneous for 100.
He was the first Japanese position player in Major League Baseball when he debuted. Okay.
Who's the guy? Is Suzuki. Ichiro. Who is
That's- yeah.
Ichiro? He doesn't even have a first name and last name there.
All right, JD, you can still clinch if you get this one right.
Players 100.
Players 100. Ozzie Smith.
Before he answers this, I would like to say that JD has already won because I'm giving him the 300 points he deserved for the A-Rod because he corrected it before the answer was revealed.
You want to give it to him? Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we'll finish these last two
I
out.
was waiting to reciprocate, but at this point, it's time to officially reciprocate the giving question.
Fair enough. JD?
I'd say the Wizard.
Yeah, it was the Wizard.
Wizard of Oz.
Yes. And actually, to be fair, in this case, we'll do that.
Mhm.
Fair, give you the 300 points. All right. Obi, what do you want left? Perhaps
I
this
will
one?
take Major League teams for 100.
The most westerly based Major League Baseball team.
Seattle. I'm going to say the Seattle Mariners are further west than the Los Angeles teams.
San Francisco.
Oh,
Because if you think of how the coast is shaped like
yeah,
the semicircle.
Belly's out.
There you go. All right, JD, congratulations. You took this one. So, let you. Actually, now it's funny. Now I'm seeing all the I was running it on a different screen, so now I'm seeing like all of the questions or all of the comments that were in there too. Ripping on the fact that Rangers. Even I know this one. All right, so not bad. So
Yeah, I have quite the fan club over there.
well done. So yes, bravo to you. Congratulations, you get the pride of basically saying that you won, online Jeopardy.
You know what we did learn though, Scott. Next time you grab one of these, you can play.
I could, yeah.
And
I
you
can do
too
that.
can be staring at yourself going, I know it's a league of their own.
Well, like I said, in my case, at least I know I didn't get any of them wrong. So, but all right. So we've got about 5-ish minutes left, maybe 6 or so. But if you want to talk a little NBA, a little NHL, I'm going to just turn it right over to you guys. Floor is yours.
Well, we were way off on the NHL thing. I mean, I guess it could still be Tampa Bay in 6, but boy, even if it is, it's not been what we discussed it being.
I will say that if Colorado to borrow a phrase from Obi from earlier in the NBA playoffs, it isn't a series until the home team loses.
Mm-hmm.
So look what happened against the Rangers. The Tampa went down 0-2 and then reeled off 4 straight. Could that happen here? I'm not really counting on it, but it's possible. And also, but if Colorado does pull this off, I know I've been dumping on him the whole playoffs, but last night he showed why. If the Colorado Avalanche can pull this off with Darcy Kemper as their starting goaltender, that would be the hockey equivalent of the Ravens winning a Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer as their quarterback. He might be the worst playoff goalie I have ever seen, with the possible exception of Mike Smith from Edmonton.
Jeez.
It's amazing how the team keeps winning with a goalie that bad.
Listen, the 80s hockey team, the Edmonton Oilers, Grant Fuhr had like a 3.9 goals against. So
Grant Fuhr was still a Hall of Famer, though.
He's still a Hall of Famer despite those numbers, yeah. Here's an interesting question. I was gonna pull something else up, but I won't right now.
The answer to that question is yes. Dilfer is worse than Flacco.
Dilfer versus Flacco, or Eagles with Foles.
But Foles at least was the best. Foles
They got
was
a Super
supposed
Bowl
to be
out
the backup, and he threw for over 400 yards in that game.
Yeah, and he caught a touchdown too.
Yeah, Foles caught lightning in a bottle, where at a time when any quarterback can catch lightning in a bottle. Dilfer was barely a game manager at the time when it took, quarterbacks did not have to be superstars, but still, that was a team you knew the offense wasn't going to stop you. And Foles, it was part of it was there was not enough tape on Foles even for Belichick to get in the way.
So, all right. So basically, Foles isn't good. He had a good game, but ... He's an awful QB.
He will never buy a drink in Philly again.
He'll never have to. Not at all. Listen. You got to.
And heck, he caught lightning in a bottle. As far as I'm concerned, Eli Manning caught lightning in a bottle twice. So,
yeah. But see, that's all that matters. If you do it on the right stage, Joe Namath has entered the chat, and that dude, he should have been 4th overall in for the MVP on that Super Bowl. And how I feel about that.
The only Super Bowl MVP to never throw a touchdown pass in the game. Matt Snell got hosed big time.
Matt Snell, he scored the only touchdown. He had over 100 yards rushing and I think like 60 yards receiving too.
I'm a Jets fan, and even I will admit that Joe Namath is quite possibly the most overrated quarterback in the league.
And Joe Namath is still doing commercials to this day for reverse mortgages or something.
Yeah.
Jeff Saturday was the most screwed over MVP choice. He wasn't even on the ballot, and he was blocking 2 guys at a time, getting to second level all day when Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts won their Super Bowl. So
I have a better chance of being picked as Super Bowl MVP than an offensive lineman.
Yes, we all.
Well, that's always a sore spot for
for certain people. Not Viagra. Viagra's not a sore spot.
Yeah, I was like Joe Namath for Viagra. Yeah, I don't think he's going to need it.
Like Colonial Penn, reverse mortgages. He's in, all of the typical old guy celebrity pitches.
Dude, Jimmy Walker from What's Happening or Good Times What Happened, whichever one it was. He's doing those commercials now too. And then at the end of it,
was doing him until the day he died, practically.
Tom Selleck does reverse mortgages too. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, you have been on Blue Bloods for like 12 years now. You really don't need the commercial money.
Yeah, but if they're willing to give it to him, he'll take it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a matter of needing the money so much as it's easy money, for these guys. Like you were talking about, Gronk about the Gronk commercials versus reading off a cue card versus the Baker Mayfield commercials running up and down the stands.
Doing all these actions and everything. Well, Baker Mayfield at this point, we don't know where that home is going to be for progressive commercials. Anyway, we got to wrap this up. We got about 2 minutes left. Gentlemen, do you have any final thoughts?
Browns still need a starting quarterback after Watson gets suspended.
You know what? I was not going to bring that up because I know how you feel about that. But
I don't need to get into it, but I'll put it this way. Watson better not play this year. That's all I'm going to say.
I think there's going to be massive outrage if he does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I think we'll wrap this up. Obi, anything else?
No, I'm good.
Cool.
I'm good.
All right. So in this case, basically, I figure we'll wrap this up. I'm Scott. That is Mr. Obi Spencer. And down below me is basically Mr. JD Walk. Tonight at 7 p.m. For Tales from the Film Set, we are going to be breaking down, not my request, the trailer for the new Barbie movie. Not something I was planning on doing, but I'm going to throw it right out there. Davion is a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Life is plastic. It's fantastic. Or it's not fantastic, by the way. So, so we're going to be doing a little bit of that. We're also going to be breaking down actors and actresses that were in things that you had no idea who they were and what they were in. And some of it, believe it or not, ties to Spaceballs. And no, I don't mean Tim Russ. So anyway, there's the official teaser on that one. I'm Scott, Mr. Obi Spencer, Mr. JD Walker. Thanks as always to you guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for the comments. Good game, by the way, JD. Kudos to you for the win. Take care until next time. Stay awesome.